Hey there, welcome to our live time today with our special guest, who I'm going to introduce in just a second. But I just want to welcome you to Every Woman's Story community. And I want to reintroduce my co-host, Eliza Cortés Bast. Hi, Eliza.
Hello.
And we can each say a little bit word about who we are, but we're really excited also about who is going to be our guest today, because I don't know about you, but if you ever struggle with the idea of trust, like trusting people, trusting yourself, trusting God, trusting that the day is going to be okay, if you're breathing, I think you might be in that camp. I know I struggle with this. And that is part of what we're going to dive into today with our guest, Alexandra Kuykendall, who I have the privilege of calling Alex for short. And Alex is the co-founder of the Open Door Sisterhood and author of several books, including Seeking Out Goodness, Finding the True and Beautiful All Around You. So, hey, Alex, we're really glad you're here today.
Thank you. Yeah, you invited the person who definitely struggles with trust so that I can be exhibit A on this topic. So good job.
Yay. Well, I'll probably be B right next to you. Exhibit B. Don't know about Eliza. Eliza, is trust at all?
We're just going to keep going down the alphabet. I'm here for it.
Okay. All right. So we want to get to know you, but we are going to be diving into a story about trust that's pretty profound. It's both Alex's personal story and then a story that is from the Bible, from a woman named, I don't really know, but she's called the Widow of Zarephath. And we're going to be learning about her trust issues, so to speak, and how she faced them, and Alex's life alongside, transparently. But Eliza, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. I'll introduce me. I am really privileged to know a lot of incredible women like Eliza and like Alex. And my role that I work at is I serve as CEO of Stonecroft Ministries. I'm a past CEO of MOPS International. And I just think how God positions us as women is fascinating. We are so influential, so much the glue of organizations and families and relationships. And so I love learning stories of women that are in the Bible. I love learning stories of women who are contemporaries, women who can inspire us throughout history. And so I'm super excited to learn more about stories of trust today. So Eliza, tell me about you.
I get the privilege of serving alongside of NAOMI, as the Vice President of Outreach for Stonecroft. And before that was a denominational executive serving in local mission and strategic innovation. So I love new ways to tell stories. And so I'm excited to be partnering with NAOMI in this work because it's such an honor to be able to deliver new ways and in new spaces, the stories that women are holding every day, but also the stories that help transform us and shape us as we're moving towards Christ-likeness. So I love this, and I love that I get to partner with NAOMI in this and all the fabulous people that are in her network.
Yay. And which are in your network too, because you're with us and it's live. So, hey, we are.
We're doing it together.
Yeah. So, Alex, we want to get to know you better. So, Eliza has some questions teed up for you.
Okay.
If you've been a long-time listener with us, you know that we love to start our live time with a little bit of this or that. And I love it as the seasons change. We've gotten to experience people in different ways. So, Alex, we're going to give you a little this or that. And so this is the transition time between summer and fall. So we'd love to know from you, are you a morning or an evening person?
Morning. 100% morning.
100%.
100%. I wake up and I'm ready to go. But about 5:00 p.m., I'm starting to be useless. So I don't understand night owls. I don't understand how people can be productive late at night. I'm just spent. It is not how I'm wired. So I stand firmly in the morning end of the spectrum.
I love that. Summer or fall?
Fall. This is my time of year. Also, I don't like being hot. Okay, that is just, it is a pain. And fall is the perfect temperature. I like spring too. But, I'm like that. I don't want to be too hot. I'm Goldilocks. Not too hot, not too cold. Fall is that, and fall is beautiful. So yeah. I love the crisp air. My husband and I went on a walk this morning, and we just both said, this feels so amazing. to have a cool air, and the trees are starting to turn. I live in Denver. Fall. Oh, and I love fall clothes, and I love fall food. I mean, fall.
Okay,
I vote fall. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
corn. Votes for candy corn. Anybody?
Yeah. Oh, I like candy corn. Mm-hmm.
I do too. I have some downstairs. Yummy. Yeah.
I need it mixed with the peanuts. I can't have it by itself. It's just I need the mix. It needs to be a participant at the party. All right, Naomi and I have strong feelings about this one. Roller coaster or boat ride?
Yeah, I do too. Boat ride. 100%. Yes, because I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so I grew up around boats. But also, I don't like roller coasters, so that makes it an easy, to talk about trust. You're trusting that machine that is sending you at a velocity of who knows how far, how strong, is going to stay on its rails. I've seen enough YouTube videos with people stuck upside down that I'm going to go boat.
Okay. I could see that until you said YouTube videos, and I'm like, that's why I don't watch them either, because Naomi and I are team roller coaster. Tea or coffee?
Oh yeah, this goes with morning coffee. Mm-hmm. And I like coffee with half and half. That's my drink. Like when I go to Starbucks, that's what I get. I don't get a fancy something. I get drip coffee with half and half.
You know, what's really fun, Alex, is I'm remembering once you and I had the privilege of traveling together to do some work, and I got to get your coffee order. And I remember, it's not just that you like half and half. If I remember correctly, you like 1 tablespoon, half and half. It was like very specific. Now, maybe it's changed.
Maybe.
But
yeah, I don't doubt that I was that way, because I am a coffee snob.
Okay.
Again, I grew up in Seattle. It's like the coffee headquarters of the United States. And
you got to taste the coffee.
Yes, I want to taste the coffee, and I like to control how much cream is in my coffee. So I can absolutely believe that I would say something that probably inappropriate when you were offering to give me a gift.
I thought it was totally appropriate. It was very comfy. I could tell the barista, 1 tablespoon, please.
Concrete is a nice way to say it. That is a nice way.
The trust language again. I want to be able to control how much I can taste.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Naomi, those are this or that questions. Back to you.
So we do not want Alex to be having a cup of tea in her hand on a roller coaster at night in the summer.
Awful. Sounds awful.
All right. Well, I'm going to go a little bit more into the inner life, Alex. So your article is about trust and looking at a woman who was down to her last nothingness and asked to trust that. And you confess, and I'm sharing with you that interest in understanding how hard it is to trust God, to trust ourselves, to trust others when we are low in reserves. And so I actually want to maybe just before we get a little bit more deep in that article, when you took a look and you opened up the Bible and you looked at this woman named, again, we don't know her name, we don't know, but the woman who is called the widow of Zarephath. When you looked at her and you looked at her story, where did you connect and where did you disconnect? So maybe just if you could recap a bit of her story and where Alexandra Kuykendall leaned in and said, no, that other part's not me.
Mm-hmm. Well, she was just given opportunity over and over to trust that she was going to be provided for. So I'm assuming she was a woman who was a bit at the mercy of society in making her physical needs met. She probably, in the hierarchy of needs, that's where she was hanging out, was in the desperation zone. She wasn't necessarily thinking about her emotional needs or her spiritual needs. She was trying to figure out physical needs for her and for her child. And I run adjacent to, I can't say I'm in deep relationship with, but I run adjacent to a number of women who are in that position today. So that feels very relatable to me, that I know of many women in my own circles that are dependent on the kindness of others and dependent on God using other people in very practical ways to meet their needs and meet their children's needs. So right away, I felt a sympathy for her. And I once again thought, well, some things just don't change, do they? We still are called to be people of generosity to women around us who are at the mercy of strangers. And so that felt very tender to me because I am in a place to be inviting other people in through my work and through my husband's work to care in practical ways for women who are in that position. Mm-hmm. So that struck me. And as far as relating to her, I might not relate to her in the meeting, in the physical needs, but I thought, you know, I am at God's mercy every day to meet my needs in other ways. And when you say introduce yourself, I think it's interesting that we don't know this woman's name. We know her by her relationship, or actually lack of relationship. She's a widow, so she was married. That's how we refer to her. And we know her by her location. And we also know her as a mother. So we have these relational elements that define who she is. And I, in my relationships, am daily asking God to provide what I need to be the best version of myself for the people around me, because I can't muster up patience on my own, at least to the level that I need. Maybe some people who are naturally nicer than I am, I don't know, naturally more patient than I am, can do that. But I have to ask God every day to meet some of those needs. So often when I think about God's provision, I'm thinking about physical needs, practical things. But for those of us who live kind of comfortable lives, I'll put myself in that category. Like, I don't have to worry today if my bills are going to get paid at the end of the month. I do still depend on God every day, and that was relatable to me.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. One of the things that I'd love to ask you about, but I'm going to tell you part of why, because, this is a dialogue. It's not just like, just throw questions at Alexandra. But I want to ask you in a minute about kind of like what you do with your thoughts when you're tempted, inclined to be anxious, to not trust that anyone's going to take care of you, that God's going to provide for you, etc. And part of this is I'm just going to paint a picture of like a panic moment for me. And there was a time when I was driving my daughter to school, and I stopped at the mail house. It's 6 a.m. It's dark, and it was -20. And I also am in Colorado. Elisa's not, though. Hey, we got to get some difference here. Hi, Michigander. Anyway, Elisa, am I doing it right? Or do I have the wrong?
Yep. Everybody just uses the mitten. You have to figure out where you are on the mitten.
Okay. So hello, all you people who are from Michigan or who have ever lived there. We love you. Welcome. We're just from Colorado. Right now, we're going to be a little square state. So rectangular, actually. But anyhow, so I'm at the bottom of the mountain where I live, and it's -20 and it's dark. And I go into the mail house to pick something up that I need to pick up, and I drop my keys in several inches of freshly fallen snow. And I do not have a cell phone with a light that I can turn on to find them. So and my daughter's inside our car, and I cannot find the keys, and it's -20. Okay, so widow at Zarephath, she was down to that place where it's physical survival, and I, once I could reach my daughter, I'm like, try to call dad. Well, there's no cell service at the bottom of the mountain, so we can't reach my husband. All right. Panic. So I want to ask you about thought life. When you are really physically feeling that, or some of the women you They run adjacent aside, are really literally physically their body's going, I am in significant danger. For me, -20. What are the things that typically would run through your mind in a moment when you're tempted not to trust? And maybe what have you been learning to do with those?
Mm-hmm. That's interesting, because I was just talking this weekend about something that happened several years ago where I felt like, yes, we were in danger, potentially in danger. And my prayer at the time, after a few thoughts of things that could go wrong, was, okay, God, you know what I want in this moment. Like, it's pretty clear the direction I'm hoping you go. And I am proclaiming right now that no matter what happens, I know you are the same. You are the same today and you are the same tomorrow. So that's going to be what I anchor myself in, because I'm preparing myself for the worst case scenario. I'd also say, probably in more recent years, I've been more aware of how my body responds in those moments, and to regulate my breathing in order to get my brain thinking correctly. Because when you're in that panic mode, I freeze. That is my go-to in, fight, freeze, or flight, fight, or freeze. I'm a freezer. And so I want to be able to be thinking clearly. So I focus on my breathing. I ask God to help me for this moment. And I try not to get too far ahead of myself, because that's the natural tendency, is to think, right? It's -20. My daughter's in the car. She's going to freeze to death. That's the next logical step in a mother's mind, right? It may not be logical, but it may be logical. And to say, okay, God, I'm not going to get that far ahead of myself. I'm going to say, what is the next right thing for me to do? And Lord, help me. Help me in this moment to keep us all safe. And then focus on my breathing so that I can.
Naomi, I love that you asked that question. I love your response, because I am not an overthinker in that same way, but I think about like my older sister, and she'll say, I'll get to the right place, but like she'll start working out all the worst case scenarios before she gets there. And I think for so much of her spiritual journey, she thought maybe she wasn't like, kind of a good enough, like she didn't trust Jesus enough, because it took her so long to get there, because she almost had to run through all those things as she's like, like leaned in and tried to trust God more. She's been able to bypass some of that, but she's like, sometimes I just need to walk through like the thoughts. I come to the same conclusion, but I need to walk through the thoughts. And so she's felt a lot of freedom in coming to that space, but it's taken her a while to get there.
Mm-hmm. And when you have a little more time, when your safety isn't like a life or death decision in the next 5 minutes, but you're faced with a decision where it really is stressing you out. And you are wired that way, because I am. I do kind of think through worst case scenarios. But then I can say, okay, even if that happens, God is the same and he will be with me. And even if that happens, and then I can face and say, okay, God, let's see what's going to happen. But I don't just quickly go into that. Let's just see what happens. Easy breezy, no big deal. I do panic, and I do have to ask God to guide my steps, but not just my steps, my thoughts.
I'm looking at your article, which, by the way, y'all can find on everywomans-story.com, and it's called Trusting for Today. And so I'm going to quote something from it that totally fits what we're talking about. It says, the woman at Zarephath probably felt defeated. She worked and worked to get what she needed to feed her child. So like me, I don't want my daughter to freeze. She didn't want her child to starve. And it still wasn't enough. They were going to starve to death. And yet when Elijah, the prophet, approached her with a solution, she was willing to try, even though she may have been skeptical. It's almost as if she was thinking, what could be worse than how we're doing on our own? I might as well give it a try. So that makes me think about your breathing, Alex, and your sister, Eliza, and to go from the place of my child's starving, I can't fix it, I have tried everything, to even that it's really kind of possibility thinking, to even get to that place of what could be worse, I might as well try it. So walk me through how God and how the Bible and how other people have helped you turn those corners. What could be worse? I might as well give it a try, or whatever your corner is named.
Yeah. Well, it does get to, and I think I referenced this in the article, this idea of trust and trusting that God is going to meet my needs and that he is not going to meet my needs for that worst case scenario until that worst case scenario actually happens. And so sometimes I want him, well, sometimes all the time, I want him to swoop in and rescue me from my own fears of the what ifs. And he doesn't. But what he says is, if that what if happens, I will give you what you need in that moment. And so this idea of give us today, God, our daily bread. It's daily bread, not monthly bread or yearly bread or lifetime bread. It's my little portion for today. And that can be physical needs, but it can definitely be other things, comfort. It can be a friendship. I need to just not feel alone today. It could be a text that says that, which means I may not bring you your best friend knocking on your door, but I'm going to have someone send you a text that I'm going to prompt that person to do something that is just enough to get you through the day. And that is where I have really learned. I remember during COVID, COVID was terrible for worst case scenario thinkers. Just if you're not one, I'll just let you in on a little non-secret that it was really awful for us. And I remember washing the dishes and just over and over saying, give me today my daily bread. God, give me today my daily bread. I don't know what tomorrow holds. We were in that mode of we didn't know what the world was going to look like. Not even the next week, but the next day. And for many women, they may not be going through a crisis with their global citizenship, friends, sisters from around the world. They may just be going through their own personal crisis, whether it's they're in recovery or their spouse is recovering from an illness or a surgery, or they have a child who is making awful decisions for themselves. And they don't feel like they have anywhere to turn. And I would say, God will give you today what you need for it. And I know that feeling of, but God, I feel like I need so much more than what I'm getting. And it's trusting that he is actually giving you what you need, not just what you want.
Yeah, I've tried those prayers when I know something's going to be really hard of God, make it not be too painful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure they're exactly answered,
Mm-hmm.
but there is the look at how God meets me in the midst. And
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And, contemporary science has discovered that breathing and meditation and aerobic exercise, where you sweat, not just where you chill, are 3 ways that really reduce stress in the body. Thereby, that helps us feel more peaceful, right? Well, I'm going to talk about 2 of those. They're ancient, and in the Christian belief system, they're ancient. So breath prayers, which regulate our breathing, often done around scripture, are really what you were doing at that kitchen sink. And I'm thinking about give me this day, inhale my daily bread, exhale. And I know you're the mom of 4. I imagine during COVID, you didn't know if school was canceled for the next day or if it was back on or if it was off. And then you have jobs, you and your husband, and like who's going to juggle what and where are we going to be? And not to mention health and neighbors and weather and all that. So I love that. I feel like you've given us a breath prayer, Alex. And I just think that's beautiful. Just give us this day our daily bread.
Mm-hmm. And if that feels too communal, I don't think God would feel too offended if you made it even more personal and said, give me today my daily bread. I mean, I do think there is something beautiful about a communal prayer, but I also know in those dark moments when you're feeling like, God, do you even see me? Do you even see my pain? To name it and say, give me what I need. I'm coming to you. And in those moments, we often feel really alone too. And I think it's okay to say that.
Yeah, I really love that. Well, we are getting close to wrapping up our time, but I do just want to encourage everyone who's viewing or listening to this, just, that might be a daily prayer for you. Give me today my daily bread, God. It may not be one that's resonating, and I would encourage you to open up a Bible, go online, Bible Gateway, that you can find one on there. There's apps, whatever it may be, and maybe write in what you're experiencing and look at the scriptures that come up, the Bible passages, the verses, and try praying those. It might be a different passage for you. And in the darkest season of my life, mine happened to be a verse that's called Romans 8:28. And I just had this: all things are going to work together for good. All things, and it's for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. But that was my breath prayer. And I didn't feel happy dappy, but it was my anchor. And so I love give me this day my daily bread, God. And I love that for peace for today, trusting for today, which is what Alex's article is about. So one of Eliza's superpowers, of which she has so many, it's ridiculous, is she's very good at hashing up hashtags. So Eliza, as you have been listening, and we want to share this good meal that Alex has given us about trusting, breathing, being able to be encouraged and be able to encourage others too through hard times. What is a hashtag you'd suggest we share this with?
Oh my goodness, there were so many, but I literally started with all the fall, but that was at the very, very beginning. But now the backside of this conversation, there were two that kind of struck me. I wrote down hashtag give me today and hashtag what I need. And so just that idea of like that, God is not giving lifetime bread. I love the not lifetime bread that today, give me today. I think will resonate with a lot of our viewers and listeners, especially ones that are tempted to worry about tomorrow.
I love that. I love that. Give me today. So that's amazing. Give me today. Well, Alex, do you have any closing words for us? I don't know what you call it.
Any closing words? Well, I would say, God gives us each our own portion to deal with too. He gives us what we need, but he matches it to what we're holding. And to know that he sees you and he knows what you're holding and he knows it better than you do. And he also knows where you're headed. And when we're feeling like we're taking steps in the darkness, it is not darkness to him. And that may feel comforting. It may not. But I hope it is comforting to know that God is not intending things for your ill purposes, or he's not allowing things to happen out of ill will. He can, however, as you said, Naomi, make all things work together for good, which means he can redeem the hard right now. It doesn't mean that he is giving you hard things as a punishment or to get back at you for any reason, but he can use them to show his power and his goodness and his redemption to you. He can reveal himself to you through those hard circumstances. And that's what we mean when we say he uses all things for good.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much. So, hey, everyone joining us. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Eliza. And give me today. Do I get it right, Eliza?
Today.
Give me today. So we'll close with that blessing and have a great rest of your day. I'm just going to pray a blessing over us as we conclude. God, we want to trust you for today. Some of us are going through really painful things physically and at those lowest levels of that Maslow hierarchy where our needs are physical and safety. God, others of us are more soulful, or maybe anxiety and distrust are at bay today. But we know, God, every day we need to trust you and to give you opening up our hands and waiting for you to take ours. And you already do. You're already reaching out for our hands and saying, I got you. So God, give us today, give me today what we need from you. And thank you for this time to be reminded of your faithfulness. And it's in your name, Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Share this, give me today, and you can find more of Alex's story at everywomansstory.com. God bless y'all. Bye.